Throughout the bloody battle for the Pacific, one class of fighting ship was always in the thick of the action. Its creed was to go in harm's way, and its motto, kill or be killed. From protecting the capital ships and bombarding enemy troops, to sinking submarines and bringing down the dreaded kamikaze, it took on the full ferocity of the Japanese and won. Always fighting at close range, these ships were the eyes, ears, and teeth of the American Navy. Now, the destroyer on Modern Marvels.
April 9th, 1942. Japanese troops capture the Philippine peninsula of Bataan. More than 70,000 Filipino and American troops are taken captive. It is the largest U.S. Army in history to surrender, and one of the blackest days of the war. General MacArthur vowed that one day he would return and retake the islands. But that day seemed a long way away. Japan appeared invincible. Poised to sweep across the entire Pacific, a shudder of fear reverberated throughout the free world. But on that same dark day, a ship with a radical new design was undergoing trials for the U.S. Navy. It would be the first of the most successful fighting ships of World War II, the new Fletcher-class destroyers. The genesis for the destroyer was in the 1870s, when motor torpedo boats were used to attack battleships. Relatively small but extremely fast, they were usually armed with a single torpedo tube and some form of rapid-fire machine gun. By the outbreak of World War I, the torpedo boat had evolved into the destroyer. It had become the backbone of navies throughout the world. But in the 1920s, Japan launched a new class of destroyers. The West took notice. These fast, heavily armed ships with 5-inch guns were stronger than any ship in a Western fleet. As Japan's expansionist policies grew, so did her fleet. Soon, powerful battleships, carriers, and cruisers were churning out of dockyards. Germany and Italy were also determined to build up their fleets. Ship after ship took to the seas. But in America, little was done to counter these threats.
The design of the American destroyer really was static into the 20s and early 30s. No new ships were built, many were decommissioned. So basically the type of destroyer that the Navy, U.S. Navy, had into the 20s and 30s was the World War I emergency program Flesch-Deckers.
As the world entered a frenzied arms race, American naval designers finally looked closely at these new fleets. What they saw was alarming. America had to come up with a fast and heavily armed destroyer of her own. The designers also faced an additional problem: enemy aircraft. Planes were becoming faster and more powerful. New destroyers would need enough firepower to not only protect themselves, but also destroy the aircraft. In 1939, plans were laid down to build a new class of American destroyer, the Fletcher class. These would be the largest destroyers ever built by any nation. The design was an engineering achievement, a balance of ruggedness and seaworthiness, armament and speed on a classically proportioned steel hull. 376 feet long and nearly 2,900 tons when fully loaded, the Fletchers were significantly larger than any previous American destroyer.